Hi everyone, this is Professor Dingman, and I want to give you some more in-depth information and a review of the SA1 sample. So from the SA1 module, scroll down till you hit the SA1 drafting materials section, and from there you'll see the student samples page. When you click on that, you'll see that I've provided you with two samples, and then down here I have a link to that first sample, but it's an annotated version. Now, I asked you guys to read through the annotated version so that you can see what I thought was working well and what the student needed to improve upon for this essay. But I also wanted to do this here on a video for you guys. So let's open this up and I'll go through this essay with you. Okay, so you'll see my comments are going to load here in just one moment. Okay. So let's start with the top of the paper. The first thing that I've commented on is the MLA. And when you look at this student's paper, you can see that she is formatting her paper appropriately in MLA. She has the correct name block with her name, the instructor's name, the class title, and the date. And notice that the date is written in what we call Roman style, which is day, month, year. In the upper right-hand corner of each page, she has her last name and page number as a header. That's MLA formatting. You must have that on every page of your essay, last name and page number. And then she also has the works cited page properly formatted. Title is centered. She has the one entry for the one text that she's using. She has the proper information, and she's using what we call the hanging indent. Okay, so far, MLA looks really good. If we go back up here to the top, notice she has an original title. It's not just Essay 1. Please make sure you give your paper an original title. And then let's get into it. So notice first things first, the paragraph is indented. Every body paragraph should be indented. You start a new idea, you start a new paragraph, it needs to be indented. That indicates to us that it is a new paragraph that's starting. All right, so first sentence, I was depressed. Right away, I have a comment to make about this. This is called a hook, okay? And a hook is the sentence that starts off your essay. It's supposed to hook in the reader. It's supposed to grab their attention. And this, it's just 3 sentences. I was depressed, but it makes me want to know more. Why were you depressed? What was going on? Especially paired with that title, Metamorphosis, right? It makes me think of something changing. So I want to know what happened to this person. So that first sentence is called a hook. All right. Now there's 4 pieces to an introduction: a hook, an elaboration, a bridge, and a thesis. So the hook is that first thing that grabs the reader. The elaboration are bits of information that come after the hook that elaborate on the hook. Okay. For more information about introductions, please see my information on introductions in the parts of an essay page in this essay module, or in the writing resources module. But those are the 4 pieces of an introduction: hook, elaboration, bridge, and thesis. Elaboration elaborates on the hook, and then the bridge is the sentence or a couple sentences that help us bridge from our background information to our thesis. And the last part of an introduction is the thesis statement. Okay, now the way I teach thesis statements is that they don't have to be just one sentence, because sometimes we're writing complicated papers with a sophisticated argument, and you don't want to try to jam all of your argument points in one sentence. Okay. Sometimes that can confuse the reader and sound awkward. So the name of the game is clarity, not can I cram all my ideas into one sentence. Now, keep in mind, thesis statements shouldn't be like an entire paragraph. That's too much. All right. So you want to make sure I say between 1 to 3 sentences. Okay, 1 to 3 sentences for a thesis statement. And thesis statements should follow the pattern of topic, claim, and evidence. I should clearly be able to see what your topic is. You should be making a claim about that topic, and you should have evidence listed that supports the claim you're making about that topic. Let's see if her introduction fits that pattern. And so far, I see a hook. So, yes. Now she's going to elaborate. I never thought my intelligence could improve, and the hatred for myself grew more every day because of my lack of intelligence. I cried almost every day. I thought my life was worthless. This mindset made me scared for my future. Over the summer from junior year to senior year of high school, I knew I wanted a change. Once I began believing in myself and understanding I can improve with hard work, my life changed for the better. I became happier and my self-esteem rose. I was satisfied and content with my life. Carol Dweck, the author of the article Brainology, would tell me that my fixed mindset changed into a growth mindset. Instead of continuing to quit after I fail, I began to bare my teeth and push forward with an open mind for learning. After reading the article Brainology by Carol Dweck, I realized that my fixed mindset in junior year of high school in my math class transformed into a growth mindset in my senior year in AP Literature and Theater. Okay, so I love this introduction. Hook there makes me want to read more. Elaboration here, she fills in and explains to us exactly why she was depressed, right? This is where she bridges. This is the bridge where she's introducing Carol Dweck, right, and brainology and the concept of fixed and growth mindset. And that connects this background information here to our thesis. And the last part of her introduction is that thesis. And I love the thesis here. She, again, mentions the tag, title, author, genre, right? Clearly addresses the prompt. We can see that she's writing about brainology. She's making a claim that she was impacted by both a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And here's her evidence. She's using junior year of high school in math, okay, senior year in AP literature, and theater class. So I have 3 learning experiences that she's going to be writing about and connecting back to brainology, the concept of fixed and growth mindset. That is exactly what this prompt is asking you to do. It is asking you to choose one of the readings that we looked at for essay 1, choose that as your core text, summarize that text for your audience, and then explain how that concept in that text has impacted your own learning and motivation by sharing 3 learning experiences. They should be at least 2 academic and 1 non-academic, or they can all 3 be academic. If you haven't been in school for a while and they need to be about work, please email me and I can work with you on that. So she's done everything she's supposed to do here, okay? All 4 parts: hook, elaboration, bridge, and thesis. And that's why I have it color-coded that way too, so you can see all 4 of the pieces of an introduction. And that's just a little formula for you. For those of you that struggle with introductions, I'm somebody that struggles with introductions and conclusions. So I try to stick to this little formula, and it's been really helpful for me throughout my writing. Okay, so moving on to the next section of her essay, she has chosen to hit us with her summary first instead of weaving the summary throughout, and that's totally okay. You can weave the summary of the text throughout your 3 educational experiences, or you can summarize the text first and then give us your 3 learning experiences, whichever format works best with your style. Okay, so right here, starting off, this paragraph is her topic sentence, and it states, Dweck had 2 categories of mindsets, fixed and growth. For me, this is a clear topic sentence. It makes it clear what she's about to talk about. Carol Dweck and mindsets. Now, she could make it a little bit more sophisticated and reintroduce the text, but she's already done that twice right up here in the introduction, so it might be a little bit of overkill if she does it again here in the next body paragraph. So I'm fine with her pretty simple topic sentence. Now, keep in mind what this is supposed to be. This is supposed to be a summary. We covered summaries earlier in this module. A summary should be concise, coherent, independent, right? And comprehensive. So it needs to cover the entire article that you were reading, but it should be concise, meaning that you're not giving every last little tiny detail, but the significant details. Okay. And we also can't forget that it needs to be coherent. It needs to make sense. So even though you're chopping stuff out of a summary in order to condense it down to its most essential elements, it still needs to make sense to the reader, right? It should still give them a good idea of what that chapter or article or book or show or movie or whatever it was all about. So keep that in mind. Coherence matters also. So we can see that this paragraph is going to be an explanation of fixed and growth mindset. So let's take a look at her summary section. Whichever mindset someone had showed if they would be happy and successful or depressed and unsatisfied. Okay, so I'm seeing a good connection. A fixed mindset is the belief that intelligence is fixed. Dweck explains students with, quote, the belief that intelligence is fixed dampened students' motivation to learn, made them afraid of effort, and made them want to quit after a setback and consider cheating to get good grades. All right, so we can see that she's quoting the text here. She has the quotation marks in place. She also has the citation. I would say maybe move the citation to the end so it doesn't kind of clutter up the middle of the sentence, but it's fine there too. Notice that she just has the page number, and that's because she mentioned Dweck's name right up here, okay? And if you're mentioning the name right up here, then you don't need to repeat it down here in the parenthetical. And again, MLA is really straightforward and simple. You're going to put just a very few limited amount of things in that parenthetical. For this first essay, it's either the author's last name and the page number or just the page number. No other symbol or letter or bit of information needs to go in those parentheticals. It's really simple. And they do that so that it makes the paper easier to read. The more clutter that's in those parentheses, the more complicated it is to read that sentence. Okay, so she sets up that quote nicely. I like the way she did it. Introducing the quote, she weaves the language in with her own language, ends the quote, gives us the page number, doing that properly. And you should use at least 2 quotes in your paper. Okay, so carrying on. Students with a fixed mindset tend to be more depressed when they fail and reject learning opportunities in fear of looking unintelligent. Dweck says, quote, students with the fixed mindset believed if you worked hard, it meant that you didn't have ability. So, end quote. So, if they needed to work hard, they weren't smart enough. They care more about their appearance than actual learning itself, thus causing them to lie when asked about their grades to make themselves appear more intelligent. Okay, so that's her section on the fixed mindset. And then notice she continues here. She breaks it up, and that's something that I commented on. All right, if your paragraph is starting to get kind of long, make sure you break it up because you don't want your audience to be overwhelmed by giant blocks of text. So she broke her summary up into another section. Okay. The cause of a fixed mindset is mainly on the people who unknowingly praise the students for being smart. This praise causes students to think in a fixed mindset because they begin to believe that if they fail, they aren't smart anymore. Dweck's explanation is that, quote, after students are praised for their intelligence, it's too humiliating for them to admit mistakes, end quote. Again, good weaving of quotes, proper citations, it's working. In causation, a fixed mindset tends to lean towards low self-esteem and depression. On the other hand, a growth mindset is the belief that intelligence can improve and grow. People with growth mindsets are more determined in their studies and do not give up faced with failure. Probably should say when. A little typo there. When faced with failure. The students Dweck questioned had a positive outlook on effort, explaining that, quote, the idea that the harder you work, the more your ability will grow, and that even geniuses have had to work hard for their accomplishments, end quote. Unlike a fixed mindset, people with growth mindsets care more about the actual learning experience. Now, actually, what I would have done is maybe kept the fixed mindset stuff together and the growth mindset stuff in its own paragraph. So instead of splitting the paragraph right up here where she did, maybe split it here once she finishes talking about fixed mindset and then transitions into growth mindset. That's what I would do. It's a better place to split a paragraph, is when you're kind of transitioning into a new idea. Unlike a fixed mindset, people with growth mindsets care about the actual learning experience. I like that she actually used a transition here too, right, within this paragraph. Since she decided to keep this as a whole paragraph, she is using a transitional phrase, a transitional expression to indicate that she's shifting into a new idea. That's important. Start to use transitional phrases. It's like putting on a blinker, okay? It's letting the other driver know that you're making a turn. Works the same way in essays. Those transitional expressions are like blinkers, and you're telling the reader, hey, I'm turning into a new idea. So good use of a transitional expression here. Now we know she's moving into growth mindset. When faced with a setback in school, the students with growth mindsets, quote, would simply study more or study differently the next time, end quote. They accept learning opportunities and push through hardships. Dweck found that praising students on their hard work, I'm assuming, is what causes a growth mindset. She says, those praised for effort maintained their confidence, their motivation, and their performance, end quote. They showed a passion for learning instead of how they appear to others. Growth mindsets tend to have an easier time with self-esteem and become happier people all around because they understand failure isn't permanent. Dweck's discovery is changing people's lives for the better by educating them on what is the true way to become happy. Dweck advises teachers to teach students, quote, that by taking on challenges, making mistakes, and putting forth effort, they are making themselves smarter, end quote. Teachers must motivate their children correctly for them to develop a growth mindset and succeed. Okay, so that brings her conclusion, or excuse me, brings her summary section to a close. And as you can see, my note here said the summary section might be a little bit too long, because it is, if you look at it, starts here on the first page and then extends all the way to the very top of page 3. So it is over a page, meaning she could have chopped down some of this information. I would advise you guys to do that, because the focus of this essay should be you and your learning experiences and not so much on the text. Give us enough summary so that the reader understands what that text was about. And that's how I read your papers. I read your summary section of your paper as if I've never heard of this stuff before. But you don't want to overdo it, okay? Because like I said, the focus should be on you and your 3 learning experiences and how they connect to that text and how that concept impacted your learning and motivation. Okay, so what I want to actually cover is, I'm not going to go through the entire paper, but I want to go through what I think is her best example. All 3 of her examples are really, really good. But the best example in this paper is her last. And she did that kind of setup where she builds up to her last experience. And this one's just really, really good. And you'll notice too that she is using both mindsets, right? So she starts here with this first one. In my junior year of high school, in my advanced math class, I heavily had a fixed mindset. I'll just note, clear topic sentence. I know right away from the very beginning in this topic sentence exactly what this paragraph is going to be about, right? It's her junior year math class, and she's saying she had a fixed mindset. This is what we're looking for, a clear topic sentence that lets the reader know what to expect from this paragraph. And then you'll see her paragraphs are long, and they're long for a reason. That's because they're detailed. She's doing exactly what I expect from you guys in this paper. Don't just tell me you had a fixed mindset. Show me, what does it look like to be struggling in a math class? What does it look like to have a fixed mindset in a math class? Where were you sitting? What were you doing? What were you not doing? When you got home, did you study, or did you slack off and watch TV and talk on the phone or text or whatever it was, right? Paint that picture for me. I want to see how having a fixed mindset impacted you and what that looked like. Okay. And you'll see in her paragraphs, that's what she's doing. So the first one is a fixed mindset. Her second example, another clear topic sentence, you can see my senior year of high school, specifically in my AP literature class, is where I changed my attitude from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Okay, so this one, again, clear, specific. We can see when, senior year of high school, a specific class, AP Lit, right? And we know what this paragraph is going to be about, her moving from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. I also like the progress that she's kind of making through this essay, starting with a fixed mindset, then giving us an example where it goes from fixed to growth. And then you'll see her last example, the one that I'm going to go over with you in detail, moves totally into the growth mindset. And here's her topic sentence for that. Theater was another part of my life that helped me have a growth mindset. I joined theater in sophomore year of high school. In the second show I was in, Peter Pan, I knew I had to work hard if I wanted to improve. Okay, so right away, topic sentence clear, right? You can see theater was another part of her life that helped her have a growth mindset. I know what she's talking about here. We have the experience, we have the connection to the reading. My directors criticized my singing, acting, stage presence, and dancing. It was difficult, but I wasn't afraid of failure. If I messed up, I would ask for help. I wanted to get better at dancing and projecting my voice, so I practiced alone in my room for weeks to get it right. I would watch myself in the mirror or record myself to reflect on what I was doing right and what I needed to improve on. Okay, so right away you'll see my little comment here says excellent details that show, all in caps, show how she was developing a growth mindset. And that's what she's doing. She's not just telling me she had a growth mindset, she's painting that picture, right? And it helps me imagine that. I can picture her alone in her room, like practicing dancing in a mirror. That's what I'm looking for, that level of detail, the showing and not the telling. Okay, so let's move on. Since then, I've been working on different aspects of theater. I worked on my acting by taking new approaches to understand my character. I would look up online of other people playing the role I was cast as, and I tried to get a better understanding of how the characters should act while still have my own style to it. I remember having a difficult time playing Mother Abbess, the head nun from Sound of Music, because previously I had only played young women and young girls, and Mother Abbess is an old woman. It was definitely a challenge, but I wasn't willing to give up. I sat in my room and looked up the other people's performances of Mother Abbess to get a feel of how to act motherly and wise. I put the aspects that I saw in other people's performances into mine, but with my own sense of style. I changed my tone of voice to a softer and mature tone. I held myself upright and high, just as the head nun should, and I tried to think about being a mother or grandmother, wise and helpful, but stern when needed. Not only did I have to learn how to act like Mother Abbess, I had to practice my singing high notes. Okay, so let's pause right there. All of those details that she's painting for us right here, excellent, 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 right? She's giving me details that show how seriously she took this and how much of a growth mindset that she had. She really wanted to nail this part. She wanted to perform at the highest level she could. So she practiced and she looked up how other people acted and she got into the mindset of an older woman and really, really was trying to pay attention to how to create a character, and she worked at it. Okay. And then right here, what we're seeing is a shift. Okay. So it's a transition. Um, right here, not only did I have to learn how to act like Mother Abbess, I had to practice my singing for the high notes Mother Abbess sings and for the high notes in another musical called The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Okay. So right there, here's her transition, where she's going to now talk about the kind of the last point of putting this character together, or this of theater together, which is singing. Right. So she's talked about dance. She's talked about the acting part. Now she's talking about how to get better at singing. You'll see I do have a note here, and that is that this paragraph definitely should have been split into two separate paragraphs. It's just way too much detail. Okay. And you'll see it goes on for almost another full page. So it should have been split up. And I think maybe at this point here, or when she transitions, the not only should have been where she splits the paragraph. So that's my one critique of this paragraph. And of course, there's some little typos here and there and little awkward word phrasings, but nothing that is pulling me away from her narrative, and nothing that's taking away from a strong job that she's doing here of showing me how her experience connects back to growth mindset. Okay, so let's jump back into and finish up her section here. Every day after doing my homework, I would pull up the soundtrack of the shows on my computer and practice the songs over and over until I was happy with my progress. With my growth mindset, I knew that with practice, my voice and my range would get better. I warmed up my voice before every show by singing the scale, singing some of the songs from the show, and lastly, singing the high note only once or twice so I wouldn't blow out my voice, but so I could get a feel of the note before I went up and sang it on stage. However, the most challenging aspect for me in theater was the dancing. In almost every show, there was dancing, and I knew absolutely nothing about it. Instead of getting frustrated and giving up, I would ask for help from my friends and my directors. I wrote down every move to every part in the song we were dancing to so I could reference it when I was at home practicing. In causation of having a growth mindset, I was determined to learn and I wasn't afraid of failing. Although I wasn't confident in my dancing abilities, I worked my hardest to memorize every dance move. In one of the most recent shows, The Great Gatsby, there was a ton of dancing. I didn't realize how much I have grown until that show. I didn't have to write down any of the dance moves because I memorized them instantly. I felt confident dancing and putting my own spin on the moves. Although it took a few years, my hard work paid off. I actually became decent at dancing. My growth mindset in singing, acting, and dancing has helped me improve and excel in theater. I didn't care what other people thought about me. I just focused on improving myself. The growth mindset I have in theater showed me to never give up, even if I fail. Okay, so great closing to this. So she adds in here, this is the section where she adds in the dancing. Again, good details, right? She's explaining that she went looking for feedback, more feedback from other people in the production, and that she actually wrote down the moves and synced them up with the song so that she had a little reference so she could practice at home, right? And it's like, fantastic imagery. I'm able to picture what she has written here because she's given me those details. And then here towards the end, I like what she's doing where she's explaining to us here how having that growth mindset in theater really helped her improve her abilities, right? She's showing the outcomes of what having a growth mindset looks like, right? That she, without even realizing it, has improved, right? Because she was putting in that hard work. And that's what she says here. She realizes that after she put in all that hard work, wow, she's improved. And she didn't have to work as hard for her latest show, The Great Gatsby, because she had been putting in so much hard work, right? She'd become more skilled. So the work was less challenging as from when she first started because she put in the effort and the time to get better and better at it. And she makes that really clear here at the end. All right. So again, all of these paragraphs are excellent examples of how to write about an educational experience in this essay, but that last experience for her, the theater experience, is the strongest one in my opinion, and that's why I analyzed that one. So let's jump into the conclusion so you guys can see what I'm looking for in the conclusion, because a lot of students disregard every single place that I have told you guys to make sure your conclusion addresses my class. I have no idea why students don't understand this thing. I go over it in class every single semester, and every single semester about half the class forgets to put my class, my specific English class, the class you are currently taking with me, in the conclusion. In your conclusion, I want you to explain to me how you're going to use your concept that you've just written about in my class. So for this paper, I expect her to be telling me how she intends to develop a growth mindset in my English 101 class. Make sure you do the same thing. And I want specifics. I want to know exactly what you're going to be trying to do to make sure you maintain and develop a growth mindset in my class, and then extend beyond, right? How is this going to help you beyond my class? Okay, so let's take a look at that conclusion, knowing my expectations for the conclusion. Carol Dweck's article, Brainology, has shown me that once my fixed mindset in junior year math had developed into a growth mindset in senior year AP literature and theater because of my love of learning. Okay, so what we have first is restatement of the thesis. She's connecting right back to her thesis statement, and notice that it is an echo of the thesis. It's not a word for word copy and paste job of her thesis. Please do not do that. Do not copy and paste your thesis. You need to restate it. Okay, don't change it, the ideas, but use new words to come up with the same idea as your thesis. And that's the first part of an introduction. Restate the thesis. Second half of the introduction, or second part of an introduction, is the significance, the so what. So what? Why does this matter? Why should we care? Why did you write this paper? Why is this topic important? And for you, the so what is, so what? How is a growth mindset going to help you in my class? And how is it going to help you beyond this class? So that's what she's going to address. So we have her thesis statement here, restated. It's clear, it connects back to her original thesis statement. I have grown to be a happier and healthier person because of my change in mindset. I used to believe that intelligence was fixed and I could never improve. But after months of training and pushing myself to work harder, I saw progress with my intelligence and my love for learning grew. That's when my growth mindset had settled into the place where my fixed mindset used to lay. Currently, I want to maintain and build on my growth mindset to do well in all of my classes and future endeavors. Effort has become an important attribute of mine that will help me achieve my goals. Okay, so now I see her pivoting into current day. Specifically, in my English 101S class. Okay, here she comes. It's the same class. We just renamed it from 101S to 101E. Specifically, in my English 101S class, the effort I put in will help me focus on my use of grammar and expanding my knowledge of how to make a well-written essay. I will put effort into focusing on the weak points that usually occur in my essays, like the explanation of evidence and the introduction. My effort overall will help me to prevent slacking off and procrastinating on my homework as well. I will strive for an A in every one of my classes because my growth mindset loves to learn. My growth mindset is what will keep me motivated to always work hard and make an effort in everything I want to accomplish. Okay, so I see her giving me those specific details, right? And so I've color coded it. So we have this yellow section is her specifically addressing my class, what she wants to do, and she's giving me very specific things on what she wants to improve upon and using her growth mindset. And then the green section is how she's using the growth mindset right outside of this class in her other endeavors and classes. And then, as I covered before, the very last page of her essay is the works cited, the one entry properly formatted. And I did the works cited for you guys. Please go get your one entry and copy and paste it into your own paper. But it should look like this. Title centered, still have the header in the upper right-hand corner and the one entry with a hanging indent. If you don't know how to hang the indent, make sure you Google it. You'll find a YouTube video that shows you how to do it in Word or in Google Docs. Okay, so overall, this was an excellent paper. This is one of those papers that I would score as above expectations, right? So the highest category. Yes, there are some errors, like I said, with spelling, punctuation, grammar, awkward sentences, and there's a few times she should have split the paragraphs differently. But overall, this is an outstanding essay. Okay, so I hope this video helps you guys see specifically what I'm looking for in a strong essay for Essay 1. If you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me via email or text. And also don't forget to reach out to our embedded tutor. Okay, guys, see you next time.